at full time. And it also addressed, as you know, the question of the penalty in Gaelic, because it was the committee's considered view that a disproportionality had existed between the penalty in hurling, where the conversion rate is approaching 100%, and the conversion rate in football, where it is little more than 50% in championship football. And that being the case, then the committee took the view that it actually paid to foul. Hence, there's a proposal as well within the list that you enumerated about the penalty being moved to 11 metres.
And Seamus, how will these new rules, if they become popular, how will they be presented to Congress? Will they be done as a collection in one package, or will they be done individually?
They'll be presented individually. Therefore, the package will not rise or fall on any one issue within the entire package. And in actual fact, on one of the proposals, that is the square ball, in which the hurling fraternity have severe reservations, that will actually be presented as two separate motions.
All right.
The square ball for football will be separately presented from the proposal for hurling.
Okay. Well, let's move on to some of these issues, like the fisted pass. Kevin McStay, are you in favour of the fisted pass?
Well, what I wasn't in favour of was the amount of throw passes, or foul passes if you want, that have crept in over the years, the top of the finger, the open hand. And I do accept that did increase the speed of the game, but it did because they were fouling the ball essentially. However, the fist pass is fine and dandy so long as the referee can call it. There is going to be a problem when the referee is behind the play and a player in front of him gives the pass with the hand. It is almost impossible to say whether that's the open hand or the fist pass. We see this in the scoring of points we've seen down over the last few years when they've been flicked over the bar with the open hand. It's impossible for the referee to say, but we can see it in the slow motion 5 minutes afterwards. But that's the problem, and that if you can't rule on it as the game is progressing, that's going to be a difficulty.
Colm, Kerry Dublin today, as we saw on this programme, was a great game of football. Were there hand passes in that match, do you think?
I thought there were quite a few open hand passes, but again, it's very difficult for a referee. I think I've seen 4 games under the new rules, and there have been quite a few hand passes. Some have been called up, referee letting them go. I was in favour of the fisted pass. Now I'm beginning to change my mind, because I think that, you know, you're going to have some referees letting it go. I think that it's not one I would say will get through, but I think a definite striking action is what is needed. But this whole thing about the need to speed up the game, I'm not that much in favour of that. You know, why should we have to speed up the game? You know, maybe slow the game down a little bit, and it might make for better quality at times, because, you know, if it's speeding up the game, is it for Olympic athletes or for footballers?
With the international rules, right, that came in, we were all talking about the mark when we saw the Australians. Are you now, and you're a former international rules manager, are you in favour of the mark?
Yes, I'm in favour of the mark, but not in the way that has been proposed. I think it's a half-baked mark, because the referee calls you back and you have to kick the ball. I think what should happen is the referee blows the whistle when the ball is caught in the middle of the field, and the player can hand pass it off, or he can kick it, or he can play on. I think you should get a sort of a window of opportunity for a few seconds. I know it may be difficult enough to, but there's no doubt about the mark as presently constituted will give the benefit to high fielders. The downside of it is that it could lead to an awful lot of punching of the ball in the middle of the field, because players will be reluctant to take a chance to go for the catch in case somebody else gets it and therefore has an advantage.
Would you accept, Seamus, that the mark as you've constructed is half-baked, as Colm says?
Absolutely not. The mark as the committee, and I use that term because it's a convenient shorthand that's used in media circles, the mark, in our view and in our vision, the referee will only whistle, will only blow when there is no advantage accruing to the catcher. If there's an obvious advantage accruing to the person who has fielded the high ball, then the referee will not intervene, but will allow play to continue seamlessly.
In terms, lads, of the penalty, are we unanimous here that the penalty is acceptable, that they should be moved in?
Yeah, absolutely. The rate, as James pointed out, was 50-50-ish. That's not good enough. It can't pay to foul, and if the conversion rate goes up to 80-90%, it won't be 100% because the pressure in taking championship penalty is immense. But once we get it up to 85-90%, yes, you have to exact punishment where people are fouling.
The one that we love in the Sunday game that we analyse all through the championship is the square ball. Now, my understanding is that you have to be outside the small rectangle when the ball is kicked. That's the tweak in the rule.
Correct.
Yes.
So would you guys accept this?
I think it's a good rule. I think it caused too much controversy over the years with square ball, or whether it was in or whether it was out. And I think the idea of a ball into the square and fellas going in after, and if the odd goalkeeper gets put into the back of the net, it's fine and good. And sure, if they start with the Meath goalkeeper, I won't complain.
Last night we had a great game as well, by the way, in Celtic Park. Derry Tyrone, I enjoyed it, watching it last night. But there were issues about the square ball in your mind.
Everybody thinks it's game on now with the tweak in the rule, but remember what it is. You must be outside the small rectangle when the ball is kicked. It's a fairly easy one to interpret, you would think, for the referees. But if we watch this from last night's game, Pat McEnany, one of our very best referees, but I'm sure 2 good umpires. There's Colm McCullough living in the small rectangle, and the ball is about to be kicked. And Colm Kavanagh, rather, and the ball is about to be kicked in. He's obviously inside the small rectangle. That is a free out, and yet the goal stands, and it prompted a Tyrone comeback that nearly clipped Derry. So, it should be easier to interpret, but we're still getting that inconsistent application of the rule. Not the interpretation. Interpretation is fine. It's the application we're looking for all the time.
Is that the problem, Seamus? Is the interpretation by the officials?
Well, what we hear... the demand we hear of referees at all times is for consistency. And absolute consistency, in my view, necessitates infallibility. And that is an unreasonable expectation of any group in society, not least in the association. The referees are not infallible, neither are managers, coaches, players, or administrators even. So I think at the present time we're blessed with a cohort of referees in both hurling and football. There will be occasional debatable decisions. And what we seek to do in the preparation and the training of referees is to minimise those occasions. But I think part of the response should also be of rule adjustment when it is seen to be feasible and justifiable. And our proposal on the hand pass is one such proposal that's intended to address that.
Sure. Yeah. Can I take it that the 13-metre kick-out is also acceptable? Can you see the logic of that?
Absolutely. It's a super rule.
But I can see the problem that the committee have, because you showed the managers there, and they all start, you take in all the managers and the players and whatever and agree on things. The managers in the bits that you showed, none of them could agree on anything. So, if you put them all in the one room...
Depends what team they have, you see. What suits them.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
They wouldn't come out with agreement either.
Right, let's look at time, because this is another controversial, when the referee blows the whistle, etc. And last night in Navan there was an incident involving, well, let's call it the O'Rourke's, the Paddy O'Rourke story. Meath goalkeeper Paddy O'Rourke, Armagh manager Paddy O'Rourke. You talk about it because he's your nephew.
Well, I think he got a signal from a former teammate of mine who's a selector at the moment that the game was over. I think he kicked the ball out and it happened to go out into the stand. And then the referee blew the full-time whistle, and Paddy O'Rourke, the Armagh manager, wasn't too happy.
He didn't quite blow the full-time whistle now. He actually put up his hand to signal a line ball first.
Yes, and then I think he was getting a bit of encouragement from the crowd that he had played 2.5 minutes or so of additional time. But, the referee... could have waved play on. It's up to the referee to decide on time. It could backfire on you if you put the ball out.
And the ball has to go outside the boundary line. That's the rule.
But the big problem with this, and I know where you're coming from, Seamus. We saw the clip where John Bannon called up the game early, the clip you did, Marty. The problem with this is there is no stadium clock. So the players don't know when it's gone. And at any rate, the only man that knows when the game is up is the referee. Okay. And therein lies the problem.
But I saw the benefit of it in the Meath Dublin O'Byrne Cup semi-final, the replay in Navan there last week. It was obvious that time was more or less up, but action kept going on and on and on, and the ball didn't go out of play, and Dublin had 2 or 3 chances to get a score, and then went back up the other end of the field and Meath got a point.
I think we're going to have this debate many, many times over the coming months. Seamus, we wish you the best of luck with these new rules, and Kevin McStay and Colm O'Rourke as well. Thank you for contributing. As always, RTÉ Sport strives to bring you the very best action, and the week ahead is no different. Coming up right after this programme here on RTÉ2 is Premier Soccer Sunday. On Monday evening at 7 o'clock on the same channel, there's an OB Sports special which will be concentrating on the Irish Indoor Athletics Championships. Right after that, there's Against the Head with a review of the RBS Six Nations opening weekend, including Ireland's victory over Italy in Croker yesterday. And pro boxing returns next Saturday night at 9:30 with several top-notch bouts, including Andrew Murray facing Oisin Fagan. So the opening round of the National Football League is done and dusted, and unfortunately so is our very first Sunday Sport of 2010. My thanks to Seamus Woods, Chairman of the CCCC and the Rules Committee, Colm O'Rourke and Kevin McStay for joining me here tonight. Hope you enjoyed it as well at home, and don't forget, Sunday Sport will be with you again next Sunday night at 8 o'clock on RT2. From all of us on the Sunday Sport team, good night.